Briefly, the structure for the presentation today will be talk about what is club licensing as a whole, so at the national level and then at provincial level, and a bit of the evolution of how it's come about from 2016 until now. We'll talk specifically about quality soccer provider standards, how to participate into club licensing, some challenges and support that we've come across through the years, and then I'll open it quickly for a Q&A and next steps for the organizations. So the first thing is, what is club licensing? In order to introduce this, what I've done is that I've captured Canada Soccer's description of club licensing, which I'll share with you. So Canada Soccer's club licensing is a standard-based, of course, program. It's designed really to guide organizations towards the best principle for organizational development, both on and off the field. By raising the standards, both the daily playing environment and participant experience are enhanced. Therefore, improving the overall soccer system in Canada, and most importantly, the goals are to set clearly defined standards for the member organizations across the country, to recognize excellence in the soccer community, raise the level of the soccer organizations, and most importantly as well, drive change in the soccer system. All this to say is that there are benefits to going through this process. The benefits will be different for each organization, but ultimately it will improve our soccer system and our soccer environment in Canada, and it will support the people that we all look after the most, which is our players, our parents, and our coaches. Club licensing program is divided into 5 categories. We can start from the bottom here. So quality soccer provider designation is the base designation within club licensing. Then we have member association level 1 and member association level 2. We move up after that to the national youth license, which is the one that allows for high performance participation in our environment here in BC, would be the BCSPL. And then at the highest level would be a license that's solely intended for professional and semi-professional organizations. It's the National Pro Club license or the National Club license. Limited to Whitecaps FC, Montreal CF, Toronto FC, and so on. So this is the grand scope at the national level of club licensing. At the provincial level, we've gone through an evolution, so I'd like to share that with you. In front of you, we have a bit of a timeline of what has succeeded or what has happened over the past few years. There's 2 lines really to focus. The line above will be BC Soccer's evolution, and the one below will be Canada Soccer's evolution within club licensing. So from left to right, you'll see in 2016, BC Soccer released its club charter program, following similar objectives as to what club licensing is today, really just to set a list of standards and a list of parameters and a framework of operations that organizations could look to follow. And should they do it, they would receive that charter approval, that charter status. We originally decided to have 3 levels, hence the 3 stars there in the logo, but we released just the first level in 2016. Fast forward to 2017, and you'll see there that Canada Soccer released their club licensing program. At the time, though, it was solely designed for the national pro organizations that we discussed before. With that announcement, though, they did say that they were going to be working on a club licensing component for youth organizations. So with that in mind, BC Soccer decided to further align with Canada Soccer. We stopped the developments of level 2s and 3s of the club charter, and we left it just at 1 level, 1 charter designation, which is why the stars were removed there in the logo. Most importantly as well, in 2017, we opened the door for associate members to participate in the program and look to meet the standards set out by the province. Fast forward to 2018, Canada Soccer releases their club licensing program, as we mentioned, with now those 5 categories that we chatted on before. On our end, you can see we did a bit of rebranding internally. We learned from the outcomes of 2016 and 2017, and we took the opportunity of Canada Soccer releasing their new platform to improve the services that we had to that point. From 2018 to 2020, both programs were live and running, one at the provincial level, one at the national level. One of the important things to highlight is that these programs and these initiatives were communicating back and forth. We're sharing resources, communication strategies, and support in order to get organizations across the board, therefore, again, increasing and improving the soccer system here in Canada. One of the important things to highlight in this was that any organization that wanted to achieve one of the national licenses within club licensing had to first achieve BC Soccer Charter status or get the provincial good standing, that provincial approval prior to moving to that national level. Fast forward once again to 2021, and now we're on the far right of the screen. Canada Soccer updated the rules and regulations. In the rules and regulations, they highlighted that all organizations across the country have to achieve the minimum level of designation within club licensing, which is the Quality Soccer Provider designation. So it stopped being an optional item for organizations and it became mandated prior to the commencement of the 2023 season. With that change, BC Soccer took the initiative to collapse the charter program and use the resources and strategies, and most importantly, the licensing platform that we already have in place to support organizations here in BC to achieve that standing. So basically what we're doing is that we're administering and tracking against, and most importantly, supporting organizations here in BC to meet that national standard. You no longer need a provincial standard. The province will help you meet that national standard. Which brings me now to the most important thing, which is what's in the hands of the clubs and the hands of the province to help you with meeting that minimum standard within club licensing is the Quality Soccer Provider designation, and most importantly, the Quality Soccer Provider standards. So even though we're tracking against and we're supporting against Canada Soccer's specific item within club licensing, we've been given the opportunity to section the standards into these three different categories that we again identified through the years that will hopefully support organizations into meeting the standards. So we're looking at governance, we're looking at administration, and we're looking at technical. Once again, these have been siloed in that way so that organizations can better task manage whether it is board members, whether it is staff, and you can tell your governance individuals to work on the governance, your technical staff or technical savvy individuals to work solely on the technical, that way encompassing the entire organization. You'll see that each category has three subcategories. So in the governance, BC Society's compliance, policy guidelines, and good practice. On administration, we're looking at operations, reports, and forms, and organizational commitment. And last but not least, technical side of things, we're looking at reporting, long-term player development, and technical commitment. One of the key important things to highlight in here is that for the most part, your organization is already meeting a lot of these items. You already registered with BC Societies and you are compliant in that sense. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to either register with the district or be a district yourself. In terms of administration, for example, reports and forms, you complete your CRC reports. Operations, you have a website. So a lot of these things you are already meeting. Maybe just to close full circle on the technical side of things, for example, long-term player development. A lot of the organizations either host leagues or participate in youth leagues. These leagues follow specific formats. If you weren't following these formats, you wouldn't really be able to participate. So all of this to say that most organizations are already meeting some of these standards. The ones that you're not, that's where BC Soccer will come in to support you in terms of providing guidelines, providing policies, and providing that support so that you meet those outstanding items. The three categories break down into further details as well. Once again, we will not be getting into details on this. We will save that for subsequent meetings that we'll have individually with the clubs. But I will quickly point out that some of the items that you'll see here, such as the annual report, your AGM minutes, your financial report, were items that Gabriel touched on before here and that Lara will be chatting about in the future. So after me, so you'll see how all these items are connected. How to participate, which for the new organizations is probably the question that you're asking. It's fairly straightforward. The first thing that we need to do is get your organization to opt in into the program. This will allow us to create access to the CRM and the club licensing platform that will allow you to introduce and to upload all the documents needed. I'll be sharing a link after this presentation in which you'll be able to access the letter of intent portion of the website. Once you have opted in, we'll create access and you'll begin the introduction process to your organization. I just wanted to quickly provide a brief glance of what the club licensing platform looks like. We have a brief example here with Terrace Youth Soccer. They've opted into the program. And in the platform, you'll see that there's a tab for resources, a tab for application, organization information. So here, this will be your be all end all in terms of achieving the designation. Challenges and support. As I mentioned, we've had one iteration or other of club licensing or club charter in the past, and we've been fortunate enough to get plenty of feedback from the organizations that we work on. So there are challenges in place, which give us the opportunity to come up with some support for our organization. So one of the challenges that we face when going through this process is head coach certification and maybe some of the costs associated with this. To support on this, we have created development grants in which you can apply for up to $1,000 to increase your coach education certification percentages. Another challenge in place is the respect in sport education, which is one of the new items that Canada Soccer has added to club licensing, mandated respect in sport education for staff on the field. For that, in the summer of this past year, we issued some funding for organizations and we issued some checks that most of the organizations should have received by now to cover some of the costs of that coach education. Most importantly as well, we've added some sort of flexible reporting for this first iteration of the program, since it's a new added piece to many organizations. And then we'll look to collaborate on an action plan to ensure that your coaches are educated on the Respect and Support platform and all the necessary items on that. For example, on policy implementation, you will not have to draft any policies. You will not have to create any documents. We will provide you with the guidelines. We will provide you with the templates. All you will have to do is make them into your own letterhead or adopt them as they are. But once again, organizations that necessarily don't have the bandwidth to create a policy will not have to face that challenge of coming up with a policy yourself. Last but not least, kind of touching on the item before, club operational bandwidth. There's organizations of all shapes and sizes here in BC, and some of them are unable to keep track of some of these items that are presented in front of you, which is why we have plenty of reminders, plenty of communications, and plenty of support back and forth to ensure organizations are meeting this requirement. As I mentioned at the beginning, there is benefits as to going through this process. Benefits are different for everybody, and we here at BC Soccer benefit as well of knowing that our organizations are meeting these standards and are operating at a level that both Canada Soccer and BC Soccer deem necessary. I'll briefly just go over some timelines in terms of the coastal playing season. Will be a brief overview. We're in the midst of the coastal playing season right now. So August through March is the main application season for organizations here on the coast. So from August through March, we'll have different stages of the process, different reminders, and different deliverables as well for the organizations. When we look at interior season timelines, again, they line up with the outdoor playing season. We begin in March with some preseason communications and updating on what it is that is required and what it is that the action plan will be moving forward. And we go through different communications and reports and monitoring processes from March through August. So for new organizations in the interior, if you're here in the room right now, we'll begin to have conversations in February, March to really make sure that we're ready to work together when April comes around the corner, that the first deliverables are required.